all goes well, a week from now. Oh, we're live. Hello, everybody out there on the internet. If you're out there, why don't you say hello so we know you're there? You can tell us where you're from. Maybe tell us about
Hi
your
there.
dog. It's me, Jamie Dunbar, and Ian Dunbar here today. Answer your questions. Talk about day 2 of the summit. Family dog training. What a day, right?
It was a good day. Shall I give a quick summary, get going, and so we know
Let's
what
give
we
let's
talked
give
about?
people 1 minute to sign on and say hi.
What's
Like,
the time, Jamie?
it's 1 o'clock, but
This is,
think about it. The door literally just opened. It's not like people were able to enter the room. You got to give people a moment to sit down.
well, we should have let them in at 5:02.
Well, we didn't. That's
Then
on.
we start promptly to reinforce the people that were there.
Also, I
As their
only
fingers over the button to enter.
yeah, I only see one person who has posted a comment yet. This happened yesterday though, where all of a sudden, like 20 comments appeared. Oh, there we go. Michelle says, "Hello, Dunbar dudes."
Why? Thank you, Michelle. Why don't I see any comments? Oh, comments.
Comments, yes.
I was on private chat.
Oh, and Michelle Douglas says hello.
Oh, where are you?
Barbara
Oh,
McNish.
hello, Michelle. It's been a long time. Long time. I was thinking actually just like yesterday to get a reunion together with all the good old faithful old timers, the ones that were there for so long, my friends spread all over the globe. So I'm going to set up a venue and you come and probably a bar. And yep.
Yes, Michelle Black Saxby, we can see your question from before, and I've got it in the queue. Yeah, Dad, I was thinking on that note,
Hi, Jacqueline.
how you said the 40th birthday of Sirius was the other day. I think the 50th birthday of Sirius should be a big, big party.
Oh, yeah.
We got
Oh,
10
yeah.
years to plan it.
Good Lord. No, well, we had a huge one for 25, I think, or was it 30?
30. 30.
Yeah, remember at Janice's restaurant, and
Yeah.
we had about 60 people come, and Janice catered it all, and
Yeah.
I was looking after Kaleem's baby. Remember, it was having a meltdown.
Yeah. You
I
almost
said,
took it
"Give
into
it
the
to
bathroom
me."
to go pee, and then someone was like, "That's not such a good idea."
Well, I got it to stop screaming, and it was asleep, and I thought it won't know where I am, if it's sleeping on my shoulder.
Uh-huh. Oh wow. I wonder if you remember this. Someone says, I was able to get a UDX on that Maltese I told you about 12 years ago.
12 years ago. I don't
All
know who
right.
it is though.
I think we've given people enough time. Do you want to do a little wrap up of today's amazing presentations?
Yeah, so this was about the title was Family Dog Training. It's about interactions, relationships. I think Justine started off with games for children to play, proximity games, follow me, come, stick around. And of course, the other big thing to teach children is stop squeaking and stand still. Kamal, I loved his lecture actually. He gave a lecture like he was at a podium, but he was walking with 7 or so dogs off leash. So I really like that. Great recalls. Multi-dog households, just one dog that doesn't get along, it ruins the whole thing for all the other resident dogs, and for you. Then Denise and Joe Rosie used words that were, I think, a very common theme of this whole summit about a focus, engagement, relationships, and to do this, you have to give a dog a choice or many choices. I.e., you've got to train them off leash, and then you find out they want to be next to you or not. And so, then I think Joe Rosie got into, her favorite dopamine, the feel-good drug. And you know all about that now. I like to mention the whole pack of happy hormones, though. Oxytocin, endorphins, adrenaline. I mean, adrenaline junkies know, the whole experience of that. You feel good when you're, at an amusement park or something. But I especially like oxytocin, serotonin, and like if you just look in a dog's eyes You hug the dog, you stroke the dog. I mean, you get a dopamine blast. And when you have high dopamine, that produces serotonin and oxytocin, the love hormone, and which facilitates bonding, empathy, trust, all these good things. It's another really feel-good hormone, but a much deeper one. Oh, and of course, dopamine really facilitates learning too. So endorphins, these are the sort of natural painkillers. We often get them from repetitive exercise, chewing kongs, walking, jogging, and such like that. And then I think Kim followed up by reducing anxiety by talking to your dog, and she specifically talked to the dogs about things she was going to do. I saw a lot more in that. I think her entire demeanor changed from a high-pitched voice and moving like this, and the dog kind of took her tone and volume and demeanor and magnified it. But when she talked in the calm, the soft voice, a very deliberate manner, the dog mirrored this too. And of course, now we go back to the beginning. That's essential for children. We've got to stop children squeaking and screaming, and to stand still, to be a statue. And then the dog will calm down and it won't jump at them and grab at them and scurry around and do all the things that scare children. Of course, at the same time, as you'll see later in the summit, we have to expose young puppies with children squeaking and screaming and running around. Then it won't upset them when they're 8 weeks, 12 weeks, or 5 months old. So that's the summary of today. It's about relationship, engagement, focus, calmness, and reducing anxiety and hyperactivity. Over to you, Jamie. Where are you? I don't see you. It's just me on the screen.
I'm here.
Jamie. Oh, there you are.
I'm backstage.
I like a split screen. Why don't we have a split screen?
Oh, well, I think our production manager on the backstage thought it would be nice for people to see the person speaking in the full screen. But I imagine
I want to see the interaction. So
if
production
you prefer
manager,
a split screen, I bet Isaac could make that happen.
Well, because otherwise, there we go. You see, I don't want to talk if I don't see your reactions, and I just have to look at myself talking. I mean, when I'm concentrating, I look like an evil axe murderer. I'm sorry. I'm a happy guy, but when I talk, I'm like this. All right, listening to you, Jamie. Should we take some questions?
Yeah, let's take some questions. So, if anyone listening has questions, you just post them in the comments, and we will make use of them. Here's one from Michelle. Dr. Dunbar, what's your opinion on the ideological, purely positive movement that is seeking to ban tools that balanced trainers are using daily to save lives of dogs with major behavioral issues?
Well, to be quick, I mean, to me, this is a whole day seminar, but I'll be very quick. 2 points. I think we should focus on what we're doing and do a good job there rather than focusing on the bad. That's the traditional human foible where we moan and groan at the bad and use up all our energy on that, and we just take the good for granted. So that's the first thing. If tools are illegal, well, that's he turned you off. Oh, good Lord. If tools are illegal, then hey, they're illegal, Next up, leading on from doing a good job ourselves, looking back the last 25 years in dog training, I think standards have dropped dramatically. To me, the high point was the 90s. And I think it's all well and good saying I'm totally positive. But the question is, but are you training the dog? You see, what we've lost from dog training is qualification. It used to be every single person in the field competed in obedience, and you knew what reliability was all about. If you drove to Winnemucca for a 3-day show weekend and your dog, say, lays down in the sit stay, you've got 0 on that exercise and you've NQ'd for the whole day. But now, so my classic example here is the whole jumping up thing. Like, don't shout at it, don't get mad. I'm in agreement there. Don't hit it, don't knee it in the chest, don't roll it over. Agreed. But what are you going to do? Turn your back on it? So my trainer in Japan, she could be listening now. I told her about this summit just 3 days ago. She sent me this lovely video because she teaches serious puppy classes there. And the little puppy jumps up on her, so she turns her back. So then it comes around to the front, jumps up again. She turns her back. She did 3 complete revolutions and the dog's still jumping up. So this puppy trained her to pirouette. So we must solve the problem. Have we trained the dog? When I'm talking to people that will use leash corrections, and yes, I do go to conferences where they use shock collars because my time there is well spent if I can reduce the number of shocks used by 95% by just teaching them how to do it properly. Oh, good Lord, I forgot the end of the sentence. Oh, Jamie.
I think the general point, though, was that the thing that people are forgetting is the important thing is whether you're training the dog.
Yes,
right?
And that we must quantify, as you'll see in day 5. And oh yeah, when I talk to people who are using any aversive stimulus, I'm saying you must prove to yourself it's working because punishments are defined by their effect on behavior. So if it's not changing behavior in the intended direction, then it ain't a punishment. So what is it? Well, the same thing with a whole big bag of food. If you're giving it away, the question is, did it train the dog to greet people by sitting? Have you got a really good recall in a dog park from a distance? If not, it's not the food that's at fault here. It's obviously how you're using it. So I always like to prove it's working. And so we do it every couple of minutes in training. We go sit down, sit, stand down, stand, and we test the response reliability percentages. So I think that this notion that I'm totally positive and you shouldn't be doing that, therefore you are nasty, has significantly damaged dog training, and because then standards dropped. And so owners got upset. We had a good time in class, but my dog's still jumping up and won't come with cord and pulls on the leash. They want it trained today. And so we must come up with positive techniques that train the dog today. Okay.
All right. Excellent response. All right. This one's a little simpler. What kibble do you use for training? I can't even get my 1-year-old to eat his kibble, and we've tried everything.
Well, you got to follow Jamie's instructions, which are
to not feed from a food bowl.
Don't feed from a food bowl. If the only way the dog gets food is from your hand, and if it's the worst tasting, smelling kibble in the world, your dog will eat it. And then your dog will come to love it. And then it becomes a treat in the dog's eyes. So any kibble that you decide to feed, that's your choice, you hand feed. And it only takes a couple of days. You don't have to do it every day, bit by bit. And you can feed a number of treats at a time, like sequentially when it pees in its toilet. 16 treats was the first time I saw Zuzu do that. And then she thought, oh, got it. Okay. So if it doesn't like kibble from your hand that you intend it to be as a lure or a food reward, it's because it's getting better food from elsewhere.
All right. Here's a question from Arn. I am trying to get 300 hours of dog training experience to take my CPDTKA. I only have around 70. Any ideas? Oh, this is from Aaron from San Diego.
Well, the best experience you could ever get is at a humane society if they will let you train the dogs. So you want to find like an open paw type facility that has a lot of volunteers that are allowed to interact with the dogs within 20 minutes of training, after orientation, firstly, safely from outside of the kennel, classical conditioning, all and none reward training or weight and reward training, and then going in the kennel, doing it on leash outside of the kennel and eventually off leash. So the point is the sheer number of dogs there. It's not the hours that are important. If you're just, say, watching your mentor, and especially if your mentor learned to train, 65 years ago. So you want someone that's using up-to-date techniques and will let you do it. So look around for a rescue or humane society that will let you get in there and then show them the magic you can create from outside of the kennel. Listen to Kelly's open paw lecture using classical conditioning and lure reward training. Just doing that alone, you can turn a kennel into a barkless kennel. so that if any person walks around the kennel, every dog sits and stops barking. So once you've shown them the magic, they will let you do it. So that would be my advice to you. You need numbers of dogs, and you especially want to train a lot of over-the-top, out-of-control adolescent dogs, i.e. the usual dog in a lot of shelters.
All right, excellent advice. Terry asks, how can I get my puppy to respect my 12-year-old golden retriever?
Well, I'm sure it does respect it. So basically, the question you want to ask is my puppy upsetting the 12-year-old? Or some people ask, is my 12-year-old upsetting my puppy? So do what we call as the bully test. The biggest upset that's caused in puppy classes is if one owner thinks their puppy is being bullied by another one. So what you do is you surreptitiously, without saying anything, take hold of the so-called bully by the collar and see what happens. And usually the little puppy that was running away and maybe hiding under a chair then comes back and says, hey, let go of my friend. So this is proves positive. Remember what I said in the recap? We must give dogs choices, and then we know what their feelings and preferences are. It gives us a look inside their brain. So when you limit the behavior of one dog, you can check the behavior of the other dog and vice versa. But from my experience, usually all 3-month-old puppies, if they're put in with adult dogs, usually get to work it out for themselves, provided the adult dogs are socialized, of course. And all socialized dogs will allow puppies to do anything, all sorts of abuse, until they're about 4.5 months old. And we call this the puppy license to misbehave. At about 4.5 months old, though, now the adult dog will start to teach the puppy. And I don't mean by going, wow, but stuff like that. I mean, the adult dog will just go still and go, like the best trainer I've ever met in the world was Claude, a big red old special dog. He was the best trainer of out of control puppies I've ever seen. Dune failed, Hugo failed. You know, Claude just did it. And what did he do? I couldn't discern. But because I filmed it, then I could see, no, he's sniffing around. And then he goes, absolutely still. He doesn't even look at the puppy. And this little puppy, we called him Spazzo. We were looking after him over the Christmas break because he's going to be alone in the kennel, and he was an active little soul. I mean, you couldn't film him, you know, it was like this, you know. And Claude trained this puppy in one session to sit, stay, down, stay, and stand, stay, to be still, perfectly still, for like 10, 20 seconds at a time. So I wouldn't worry about the older dog. When the time comes, they will decide, puppy has to learn now, I want moments of quiet. And they will do things like pick up a bone, come over to the puppy, put the bone down, and pretend they aren't looking at it. But should the puppy look at it, the adult dog will put his paw on it, or look at the puppy, or woof, a quick little woof like that. So I wouldn't worry about this stuff. I mean, the wonderful thing about Kamal's lecture is he had a puppy in that group. And as he's talking and giving his seminar, he's monitoring the other dogs, the adult dogs, toning them down, calling them back to him, the whole pack, and also monitoring the young puppy. They need continual feedback in play. So many people just let dogs together, like at a dog park, and there's no guidance, there's no feedback. I mean, it's ridiculous. I stick my dog by my dog, and I give him comments all the time. It's good boy, good dog, because something bad could happen. And I want him to get a lot of praise in the park first. And hey, sit, slow down. Good dog. As you'll see in the dog reactivity day 3, when we take our reactive dog to his first dog park visit, and we're monitoring all the time, just telling him, chill. And he ends up playing with his nemesis, the dog that he was harassing for months, you know, which is why he got thrown out of class. And so, yes, they've got to be off leash to give them choices. And so you can observe and see how they're feeling, but you must give a continual commentary. Who was the guy who had the two
So,
Labradors?
I'm curious, Dad, if Terry, the person with that's worried that their puppy is, you know, annoying their 12-year-old golden retriever, if they do the preference test, they restrain the puppy, and the retriever, the older dog, retreats and makes it kind of clear that they want some time away from the puppy, how do you then manage that so to respect the older dog's
Oh, I
desire for
mean, everyone wants retreat from a puppy. I mean, every human in the family and every dog. I mean, imagine you had a 10-year-old dog and then you bring in a Labrador puppy. The 10-year-old dog goes, no, no, the life was perfect. I know the routine, garden time, couch time. And so it could have retreated when they were playing quite easily. It's bigger, it's got legs. It's like, mum dogs, when they get fed up with puppies suckling them dry, they just stand up and walk off and all the puppies drop down one by one. So, the puppies are a pain. There's no question about that. But what it will do for an adult dog is add another 2 years to its life. It will get this dog playing. And by the time the puppy's now, he's got it. About 6, 7, 8 months. Now the older dog says, I'm so glad I've got another doggy friend here because my owners are really boring and they're not here for 10 hours of the day. And so it will work out, but that's not to say you still don't monitor. I mean, all the time with the puppy sit, puppy down, puppy go to your bed, take a time out. Yes, off leash. Learn to control your puppy with the biggest distraction in the world, his best friend, the other dog at home. They need guidance and they need feedback. Voice, it's the thing that's disappeared from dog training, right? There's no guidance anymore. There's some people that train without asking the puppy what to do, and teaching them what the words mean. And then when they do it, they don't even praise. It's gone from dog training. And the voice is the most beautiful thing. And when you watch your puppy and when you talk to it, you're getting that dopamine blast, and so's the puppy. Hence, we get serotonin and then lovely, lovely love drug oxytocin, and it's cementing the bond. And we're calm and serene, and this is a relationship. But I find a lot of training now, and whether shock or food treat, it's so clinical. That's how I want to give feedback to my dog. I want to say, good dog. Oh, good. Oh, really hot damn. Woo-hoo-hoo. Good dog. I'm going to dance the jig, That should be feedback. And then we'll get somewhere in training instead of this trainer standing there. I'm going to positively reinforce the dog now. Good dog. Yes. It's just, it's become dehumanized.
All right, Dad.
Sorry.
No.
I'm on a roll this morning. The reason is I was mending the fence and then Jamie called me, says, we're doing this. I said, oh, good Lord. I haven't had a shower. I haven't washed my hair. I haven't combed it. My hands are dirty. So the only thing I did was wash my hands. But
the beauty of an online summit is no one can smell you. No one can see you below the shoulders. So you look like you're well put together.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right, so Paulette has a question. My dog is an opportunist when she jumps on people. Case in point, she does great walking by my side in stores, but has been known to turn around and jump on someone who has just passed us. How do I change this? And just a note, she's a rescue pity, 7 years old.
Yeah, rather than having a human interpretation for the dog's motives and why dogs are doing things, why don't you say, my dog jumps on some people, or people who say, oh, this is, what's the word for when you don't know when it's going to happen?
Unpredictable?
Unpredictable. Yeah, that's the usual one. No, behaviors go like this.
Out of the blue.
Jumps on one person, or a dog barks at one person. And we ignore it. Now, before you know it, they're barking at 2 people, then 3, then 5, then every person who comes to the house. Just say, my dog barks at some people, and solve the problem. Or in this case, my dog jumps on some people. So how did your dog get away from you? Dog should be in a heel by your side. Heel means stay by my side. If I'm walking, walk by my side. And when I stop, sit and look at me. I know some dog trainers now who don't even have heel in the syllabus. It's a beautiful command, because if it's healing nicely, there's a million things it can't be doing. I mean, I took Captain the first time I've taken him to a store a week ago because Gina was away. And oh my God, I was so stressed. He was so distracted, especially with the meat. So he wanted to sniff every meat. He wanted to sniff. It's frozen. It didn't matter. And I'm trying, no, Captain, heel, sit down. And I must have given him 100 commands. But in the end, he did it. And we actually got 5 compliments. And at checkout, I had him do a very long sit stay while the 2 checkout people came up and said hello to him. It's an effort. But again, they need continual guidance and continual feedback. And when you go into the store, talk to your dog. Don't worry. People, he's talking to his dog. I don't give a damn. And say, there's a good boy. Yep, they are oranges. Look at me. I know. We're going past the meat store now. We're going very quickly. Heel, watch me, watch me, watch me, watch me. Sit. Oh, good Lord, we got past the meat section. Okay, now we're going to wine, and go in when you're not shopping. I mean, how can you shop and train a dog at the same time? I learned that the other day. I was so stupid. I should know better. I should have pushed an empty cart around the store for an hour and then done the shopping with a trained dog. But, you know, we're all stupid when we try and train a dog in the course of everyday living. It should all be a setup, first at home, then in your yard, then doing setups in stores.
All right. Yeah, we were saying this yesterday too, that one of the most valuable tools in a dog trainer's toolkit is an accomplice. You know, another friend that can walk by your dog repeatedly, so you can troubleshoot these sorts of things.
I would actually add to that. I would say an accomplice and troubleshooting the problem, or repeating what you did over and over several times in a row, because the first time's always the worst time. So great, in a store, you have your accomplice or 6 accomplices walk anti-clockwise around the aisle and you go clockwise. Now you've taught a good greeting, you know, do 10 laps, that's 60 greetings you've practiced. And your accomplices all know the right words. When you say hello, they say, Rover, come here. Oh, they know his name. That kind of confuses the dog. Rover, sit. Good dog. There's a very good dog. And yes, I have a bit of your kibble from home, which you love now because your owner hand feeds it. Yeah, an accomplice and troubleshooting.
All right. Cindy asks, my 9-year-old Gordon Setter has anxiety when he hears thunder, fireworks, or gunshots from a nearby shooting range, which is a daily occurrence. How can I help him?
Well, in your situation, you've just got to meet the beast and heavy-duty classical conditioning. So if I would probably go to really tasty treats for this. Little bits of freeze-dried liver, tiny. Smell is important, not the taste or the size. Little bits of chicken, little bits of cheese, little bits of salami. And then since it's a shooting range, we know when they're open and closed. And every time you hear it, treat. And every time again, treat. And you just do this for a week and see the difference in the dog. Giving feedback as well. So obviously you've got to use this quadrant. Oh, good Lord, it's difficult to explain. You have to classically condition and operatively condition at the same time. The only way you can do that is with your voice. So your feedback depends on stimulus present or absent. So when it's present, praise. When it's absent, ignore the dog. And whether the behavior is desirable or undesirable. When it's desirable, praise. And so if it's praising and the stimulus is present, you double praise. You get it? If the stimulus is present but the behavior is undesirable, you just praise, because classical conditioning always trumps operant conditioning. If the behavior is desirable but the stimulus is not present, little praise.
What do you think, Dad, about making use, especially in a situation like this where they're afraid of a sound, of making use of recordings, audio recordings that you can modulate the volume?
It's a very good idea with puppies to buy those recordings of every conceivable sound and play at high volume when they're neonates or before they're 8 weeks old, maybe 10 weeks, but there's more things to lightning and gunshots than the sound. Like we used to live very close to the naval base, and they're firing off these enormous great boom, and each one would vibrate me sitting on the couch. And so there's vibrations, and with thunder we get the electrostatic charge of the air, the lightning, and all that stuff. So I would just say, meet the beast. Whenever you hear it, say, whoa, that was a good one. Treat, treat, treat. But I would use treats for this for a week. then you can go on to regular kibble. But I would certainly try the sounds too. It helps with dogs, but it doesn't necessarily resolve very loud noises like explosions or gunshot, and it doesn't often resolve the thunder thing. But with puppies, it does. It has a really big preventative, because now the dog's not scared of the sound part of it, so you can praise when it really happens.
Mm-hmm. All right.
It is a tricky. It's a lots of problems we deal with here. They're so simple. It's really, it's not rocket science, but this is a little sophisticated. But I would go the meet the beast route. Why? Because you can't live without the noises. They aren't in your control. You see, many people say, "Don't flood your dog. It's too stressful. It's inhumane." Well, you got to flood the dog here, unless you put on sound cancelling earphones or have a soundproof kennel for him.
But
So
as you point out, it's not just the sound; it's the
yeah,
vibrations and
yeah,
the smells.
yeah, and so the other things to do with thunder, of course, are get a negative ion generator, have a moist room, bathroom, no light coming in, moist towels on the floor. This really helps. But I now have changed my mind about flooding. Why? Because, say, with dog-dog reactivity, I can come close to rehabilitating this dog in one session. And so, but I throw him in there. I mean, he's in there with the other dogs. I know the other dogs are safe. And is it stressful? Yeah, but it resolves the problem. So now the scales, you see a lot of, when we're totally positive, we say, if it's stressful, it's bad. And the scales do that. But yeah, it's stressful, but it solved the problem. Totally positive didn't, or totally positive took 2 months to solve dog-dog reactivity. So now it's a different choice. So I think we got to prove we can train the dog. Then we ask, how long did it take you? Then we talk about, do you think the other person's training methods are inhumane or nasty or horrible or negative or just not positive?
Yeah.
Because now people are living and dying by this Lima creed, and least aversive, moderately, least invasive, moderately aversive. I can't remember. So obviously, as you don't want it to be aversive, period. If you can help it, but least invasive, no. My training techniques are incredibly invasive sometimes, especially with reactivity. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to take you from behind this fence, passing, barking and charging at every dog that walks by. And now we're going to meet them in our yard. And so, but it solves the problem. Do you remember the day you made me go down that chute at that amusement park? The one that should have been called...
The one where you had to cross your legs, otherwise
Yes,
there were
it should have been
injuries.
called Testicle Buster or something. And when I climbed up there, and then you said, Jamie wants to watch Daddy do it first. You were scared and you didn't do it. So I'm at the top of the ladder, and the guy says, come on, you old man. And when I thought I was going to die. I've never been so stressed in my life. What happened when I got to the bottom?
Adrenaline junkie.
I said, yeah, Jamie, come on. I want to do it again. Let's do it.
My testicles are fine. They survive.
And that is, essentially the dog story from first session off leash with other dogs, and then going to the dog park for the first time. And I'm having the time of my life. I've got my life back again. I can run up to dogs. I can sniff bums without my owner pulling on my leash. I love it. I love it, So, no, I really think we have to reevaluate this. You can't just say doing this is bad.
Yeah. Okay. Sandy asks, I have a 1-year-old French bulldog. I have been with her pretty much 24/7. Yes. She follows me everywhere, and I take her with me wherever I can. I bet you know what's coming.
Yep.
When I do leave her, she is in her crate and howls. I know it is separation anxiety, and I don't know how to fix it. Please help.
Well, you've got here, as I tell people, there's the best possible training scenario, the worst possible training scenario. And the worst possible training scenario is you raise and train a dog to always be with you, i.e. never to be alone, never to have short little quiet moments. And then it freaks out now that you start to, go out in the world a bit. So how the hell do you train your dog when you're not there? Well, stuffed Kongs help. My good old what was it called? The auto trainer was a fantastic separation anxiety buster. So it's got to be some kind of auto shaping process when you're gone, or you have to rely on neighbors coming in and all that sort of stuff to replenish the Kongs and so on. No food at any other time apart from when you're gone. And for the first few days, the dog won't touch the Kongs. But day 4, day 5, certainly day 6, now he'll start to nibble when you're gone because he's hungry. And it wouldn't bother me if the dog didn't eat for 5 or 6 days, if we knew there was nothing physically wrong with the dog. That used to be the basics for holistic medicine. Basically fast your dog for 7 days. That was a very basic treatment. And when I first saw this, I said, 7 days? They said, yeah, they're fine. That's very common in the wild. Don't catch a rabbit every day at 5 p.m. But so I would go for the partial techniques. There's many steps between you being there all the time and you being gone and the dog's on his own. Like, for example, what your dog desperately needs is every day 20 quiet times in the crate right next to you. And then the second week, 20 times in the crate in a different room. And we do that gradually. Day by day, the crate, first it's right next to your chair where you're working, and then it's 6 inches away, then a foot, and then 2 feet, then 4, then 8, then 16. Now it's in a different room with the door open, then with the door closed. And so weigh out the food in the morning, turn it to mush, and fill up. I would buy 12 Kongs. He's getting 12 Kongs a day, so we don't want to fully stuff them. You only want to put in his allotted kibble diet, with a couple of little chips of freeze-dried liver and bacon in there, tiny little pieces, so very few calories, but the smell's there. And I would say a 3-week process. But you've got to train the dog first when you're home, rather than you getting into the luxury now of, oh, the dog's always with me and he's always well behaved because he knows my routine. No, when you put that dog in the crate when you're at home, he's going to be a pain. You'll find he whines and screams there. And in this facility here, I am basically the whining dog trainer. And the crate or the bed is right here, right next to me when I'm trying to write a book or when I was putting this, summit together. And it's disruptive, but they all learn it within 2 days with me. And then we transfer it. Now you're going to be in the kitchen, and then in the room next to the kitchen, then eventually in the training room when classes are being held, whether you're lying down on a bed or in a crate. So it's a gradual process, and you must do it. You must do it because your little Frenchie, who I love with a passion, is really hurting. That people do not realize what anxiety is for another person, unless we're anxious ourselves, and we can fall apart with anxiety. It's crushing. It's brutal. And so your dog isn't feeling good. You must help your dog stand on his own 4 paws. And that's why it's an integral part of all puppy training. Even if you're at home all the time, you must prepare the dog for being a whole day on his own, or a whole day on his own and a whole week without seeing you because you want to go on holiday somewhere, or perhaps you had to go to hospital. You got to prepare the puppy for this, or else it would just fall apart. So a lot of compassion. I know you have it, and get this done.
All right. Here's a question about your session yesterday with Wookie. When he was struggling to stand and he finally stood, you praised him but did not give him a treat. I know you very well prefer to reward the best responses only, but what would you say to someone that thinks the dog was struggling, finally did it, but did not get rewarded?
Oh, I praised him. Yeah.
So that's a reward. Yeah.
I mean, if you go back and watch Wookie again, I want you to count the number of food treats I gave in that 42-minute video, which is largely unedited. That was one session, I think, with Wookie. I can't remember. No, 3 sessions, was it?
Yeah, I think Wookie was multiple sessions.
Yeah. And but I try and phase out lures within minutes. Okay, but I'd bring them back if a dog's having difficulty with something, obviously, but then I want to totally phase them out. So the hand signal is now what the dog is reading. But food rewards also, no, I want to phase them out. I don't want a dog driven by food rewards. It's very useful in beginning training, especially if an owner doesn't have much affect with the dog or can't praise. Like both Jamie and I have good voices. They're very communicative, like, because Jamie's always reading from a rolling text, yeah, I'm just talking with it in my brain, and I just love praise. To me, it is the second best reward, second only to dopamines, endorphins, and oxytocin. I want the endpoint of training to be, the holy grail of training for me is that the dog is reinforced internally, not by any external reinforcer like food or praise, because we may not have them with us. I can think of a time when I didn't have praise with my dogs, and it was when the first Gulf War broke out, and I had two nephews and a niece in the military, and I thought, oh no! And the dogs are jumping around because they ran up, to see me when I turned on CNN, and I said, "Dogs down." I hadn't got a bit of praise in my heart, but they recognized that dogs, the emergency group command, and the tone, meaning this is a have to, we must do it. It'll be explained afterwards. And sure enough, they got the treats afterwards. But yeah, if a dog's having difficulties, go back to use the food lure, but then phase it out as soon as possible. It mustn't become a crutch because then you're bribing. But food rewards, you saw, I think, pretty clearly with Wookie, how we phased them out. And then when you put them on the table, you've now increased the value, the working value of the food reward, because it's a food reward and a food distraction. It's over there, and you're calling the dog away from it to stay in front of you. And the dog has to remain staying when you go over to get the food. And but really phase them out. It's my fault. I brought food lures and food rewards back to dog training. They'd gone for like 60 years, But it's serious, and in lure reward training, it was a 3-step process. Stage 1, phase out the food lure. Stage 2, phase out the food reward. And how do you replace it with better rewards, more powerful rewards, life rewards, interactive games, praise, especially because you've usually always got it. And I love what praising a dog does to the person. I used to have such fun in seminars and stuff. I'd bring out 5 guys and say, right, we're having a praising a dog contest. I'll be your little Yorkie. And I've just gone outside. We're in the middle of the Super Bowl. It's advertisement. Your wife said, well, I'm not going out. You take the dog. It's snowing. It's cold. You want to get back. You don't want to miss anything. And I, your Yorkie, pees immediately. Praise me. And these guys would go, good dog. And that was it. Then I would have 5 women score them out of 10. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I said, oh, come on, don't be Russian judges. Be a Canadian judge. Give them at least 4 for trying, for being here. And I think praise is magical. It changes the dog's well-being. It changes ours. It is the relationship. I used to sit down and tell Zuzu, I'd say, Zuzu, let me think of all the ways that I really love you. I love every time we garden and I plant a seedling that you move on as I'm digging the next hole and sit on my seedling to make sure it's snug in the earth. And this is what we do all the way down the flower bed. I love the way you circle me when we're walking off leash, just to check I'm with you, your little lonely sheep who's got lost. And it makes me laugh. I'm sorry, it may not make you guys laugh, but it cracks me up. And when I laugh, I feel even better about Zuzu, about myself, and about life.
And that's what it's all about, right? That's why we got a dog. Feel better.
This is one life. It's not a warm-up lap.
Yeah. All right. Angela says, any advice for getting an anxious dog to go on stairs and in the car? Have tried luring without success. Should I simply continue slow counter conditioning?
Here's the deal. We had 2 weeks ago 5 dogs here, they come in for training, that wouldn't load up in their cars when they left. One of them, the guy was so upset, they asked whether we would board the dog while they went up to Montana or something. So we boarded it. This dog now jumps in any car you show it, even his big old truck, you know. It's I don't believe it. You basically no food bowl. And the first session probably takes 30, 40 minutes, but the food is on the car. I have these lovely, canine platforms. So with the Bernese Mountain Dog with the big old truck, canine blue, they're called. Blue canine, is it? Yeah, anyway.
I'll look it up, yeah.
You can stack them. So we made a 3-step staircase to the car.
Blue nine training platforms.
And so we put 1 treat on the first one, 2 on the next, 4 on the next, 8 inside the car. And we just watch the dog. It's on leash, so he can't run off. He has to look at this. And the dog takes his time. And then we got him to put 1 paw on the lowest step. So we put down 5 treats, 5 bits of kibble. Then we got both paws up. And again. And then, because when we get up to the car, he's straining his neck inside. Oh, I'll give you one big tip. Open the other car door. No animals. Remember the work of, what's her name? She designed behavior.
Temple Grandin.
Thank you, Jamie. Temple Grandin. She designed better management for slaughterhouses. It sounds terrible, but the point is, if pigs especially stress when they're being led into a slaughterhouse, you can't use the carcass. It turns into PSE, pale, serodative, exudative meat, slimy and slippery, And what she found out was animals don't like going into darkened spaces. And so what she had was she set up yellow lights, most animals' favorite light color, with increasing brightness as you walk down the corridor. And I'm saying that, I pointed and turned my light off. And they found they all trotted in happily. That was now their preference to walk in this direction. So open the other car door and preferentially have the dog's favorite family member standing there with a piece of steak. That's the goal, okay? But take your time. It has never failed, never. But I've done this with so many dogs recently. I don't know what it is with not wanting to load up in the car, but it's a very frequent problem. But it ain't a problem here. But you've got to take your time. You never manhandle it. You don't touch the dog. You don't push its rump. You don't lift it. If you've got a little dog, you think the car's too high, then have mobile steps. And
I imagine kind of based on what.
Pardon?
And I imagine kind of based on what you were saying earlier in response to another question, that first session, if the dog has been eating a lot frequently, they might not be motivated, and you just try again the next day.
You just sabotage the whole program. Yeah. You might, before a piece of kibble will work in training, you have to turn it into a treat. How do you turn it into a treat? Well, the dog will happily take it from your hand, because he doesn't get any treats. You don't use treats in training apart from the few times that Jamie lists, with children for house training and so on. You use kibble as your reward in training. It shouldn't be click and treat, it's click and kibble. It would be more alliterative anyway. Click and kibble, click and kibble, click and kibble. Okay? It's just so unhealthy to be giving dogs lots of treats. Have you ever read the label? And even if it is a natural product, look at the amount of fat in it. Look at the amount of sugar in it. So, take your time, but this is how it eats. There's no bowl. You put all the food on the blue canine steps.
Blue 9 training platform.
Blue 9 training platform. Thank you.
All right, Dad. Danny says, I'm a first-time dog owner, and I rescued a boxer from West Coast Boxer Rescue. How do I train my dog to not run through an open door?
It's basically boundary training. First, you teach the dog to sit on cue, and then you test its response reliability percentage. You'll learn how to do that day 5 by doing 3 reps of one step. You take 1 step back, come, sit down, sit, stand down, stand. 1 step back, come, sit down, sit, come, stand down, stand. Then you work out how many commands you had to give for each of those 6 position changes separately. So for the sit from the stand, which is the behavior we want in this instance, you did it 3 times over. Did you only use 3 verbal commands? If you use 6 verbal commands, then you're only at 50% reliability. You stop training right there. You've got to be well over 90%, preferably 95% on sit from the stand. Then we're going to teach the dog an automatic sit. So what we do is we put a clear line by the boundary. I use masking tape. So this is to demark a boundary. It's not meant to be a barrier. Okay, I do it between, if you have an open plan downstairs, I have one coming into the kitchen. If the dog's paw is on that masking tape, he's in the kitchen. And I tell him, hey, get out of the kitchen and lie down. I mean it. If they cut the paw with a fingernail, they're in the kitchen. So the dogs learn this so quickly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to walk down our driveway, walk over the boundary with the dog in heel, walk back and forth, heel and sit, heel and sit, heel and sit. Each time you get to the boundary, you go sit really quickly. And I had to use a tone like that. It's a little sharper. So it's heel and sit, good dog, heel and sit, sit. Okay, so whoa, wow. Let's go. And I usually sit the other side of the boundary too, as I would be going through a door or crossing a street. It's always sit, pay attention, heel, 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 and sit again. So it's heeling across a boundary, heeling across the street. So it's not just sitting and not crossing it. You can only cross it if I say heel. That means I'm with you, okay? And then we sit the other side to check. Oh, I've got my keys, or no people are coming. There's no people coming up the sidewalk with dogs, or no kids on bikes, or what have you. Now what we do is we walk up the boundary, take a long step before the boundary, and stop quickly. You wait for a second and a half. If the dog sits, good dog, treat, treat, treat. If he doesn't sit, sit. So it's like a sibilant sit. I want extreme urgency there. Like, you know how you talk to a dog when you're in a crowded restaurant and the dog won't settle down? Will you settle down? And the dogs get the tone. So we're not shouting, but the dog gets the urgency bit. Okay. And then we say heel and sit. Good dog. So the sequence, though, is really important. You stop and then you say sit if necessary. Then you heel and then you stop and then you say sit if necessary. What the dog learns, aha, every time they stop now, they then say sit. Now you've got your automatic sit on a heel, but especially at the boundary, because the boundary has a combination lock on it. The only way to get through this boundary is if you sit beforehand, heel next to me, and sit afterwards. So in the and we think this actually saved Hugo's life, that we had the house guests one night, actually it was a party, and then they came in the front door, then Hugo rang his bell to go pee. I opened the front door and then closed it to wait for him to ring the door to come back in, because it's the middle of the winter. And then Kelly said, you know, where's Hugo? I said, I let him out to go pee. He go, look, our visitors hadn't closed the garden gate. So the dog now is on the street. Well, in front of the wall to our house, there's a little walkway about 18 inches wide. Where was Hugo? Sitting by the back door. So I think he found himself there. Well, he couldn't cross the boundary. So he walked along this walkway to the back door. We don't know. We weren't there. It was a terrible screw up, you know, not checking that back gate door to the street was closed. And so it gives you time, but I would never trust my dog out there off leash unless my brain were 100% devoted to it. And my dog was a 99% responder on a single verbal sit and 100% if I had to give a second emergency command to sit. It's like, you know, the number of dogs in puppy class that got run over by cars, nearly all the same. It happened between car and the door of their house. or door their house and car. But he always ran straight to the car. Yeah, but this time he didn't. There was a cat across the street. When your dog's off leash, your safety, you really need a well-trained dog, and you need to be watching him. As soon as you get cavalier with your dog off leash in a public space, accidents can happen.
All right. This one's a doozy, so I don't think you're going to be able to cover all their problems. But
well, let's take one problem.
Well, I'm gonna give you their question. Bronwyn says, we adopted a 14-month-old Belgian Shepherd, third home. They have a high prey drive, high anxiety, lax focus, OB trained. They chase cats, lunge at cars, bark all night. I have cats and another dog. How do I help them become family?
Well, it's probably going to take you a couple of years, and you do it bit by bit. In that meantime, house and family first. So first you got to get yourself trained to know what to do. You need to know weight and reward training, lure reward training, classical conditioning. Make sure the dog's bomb-proof with you and responsive to you when you give key commands like sit, go to your bed, settle down, shush. Got it? So just verbal requests. My favorite bit of the summit is a little bit of filming of Jambo. I'm meant to be filming his play style. He's over the top. But in the course of that, he tries to hump another dog 4 times. And I just deal with it. As I'm the cameraman and the trainer, I say, Jambo, off. That's it. So we want verbal control over all the things that a dog trained for high activity and to have a job 24/7, it's got to be under verbal control to settle down and to shush and to sit. And when you leave the house, he's on leash. So to heal a dog like that on leash, an untrained dog with those genes on leash and those natural propensities, gently. In your indoors first, then practice in your yard, heel and sit, or first following off leash and then heeling off leash and then put the leash on, then heel and sit, heel and sit, heel and sit. Lots of sits, every step at first, every 2 steps, and every 3, 5, 8, 10, 20 steps. And when you sit, lots of sit stays, 2-second sit stays, 5, 8, 10, 20 seconds. Okay. Now we go outside. Don't even think of walking. You heel outside, you're at your boundary, over sit, good dog, heel, sit again, and you wait there. Let the dog watch the world go by in a sit stay or a settle down. Then you can try heeling one direction down the street, just 5 yards, then turn around, come back and go 5 yards in the opposite direction. Then go 10 yards in both directions, then 20. So you're going over covered ground. So each time you do it, it gets easier and easier. Don't even think of walking this dog round the block until you can walk round the block in one direction and you're coming back the other direction that you're walking so far back and forth. Okay. It's going to take you, I would say, 2 years, and then you'll have a brilliant dog that will want to do lots of stuff with you. At the same time, practice high energy games. Definitely fetch, definitely tug of war. First in your house, then in your yard, and so on. So that you can do these on walks. But this dog needs a job. Your job is to give it one. And that's called training pretty much 24/7. No, I jest. We have a dog like that at the moment, and he gets probably 2 high energy activity sessions a day. The rest of the time he has to settle down. So when he's placed, we will tell them, if you want to have a happy dog, he just needs 20 minutes retrieving a tennis ball. Then he will settle down in his bed without crate bars around him. But to get this dog to settle down 24/7, it would be cruel.
Hey, Dad, very quickly, do you know what OB trained it means?
No. Oh, obedience trained, I guess.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. All right. So we're gonna enter the lightning round phase. Okay, Dad?
All right.
We've been at this for an hour, but we still got a few questions. I want to give everyone at least a brief answer. So JC asks, when training your puppy during its first month home, before being fully vaccinated, is it best to train to walk on leash first or off leash and then slowly introduce the leash?
Off leash first, as always, but at home. There's no hurry to take this dog out for a walk. And if you take him out for a walk, he will learn to pull within seconds on his first walk. So off leash following, then off leash heeling, indoors at home, then in your yard at home, and so on and so on. When you do your trips outdoors for socialization, if he's young enough, carry him or drive him and go to Home Depot or Target and just put up a sign. Would anyone like to pet my puppy? $1. You make a fortune too. So they can come up to your car and put their hands through the car and hand feed the dog when it's sitting. Or in Home Depot, it's good. You put him in the car, even quite a large puppy. So take something, a little bit of cardboard to put in the bottom of the cart so he's comfy there. And everyone there will want to pet your puppy and hand feed him if he's sitting. So there's no hurry to walk your dog. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes that owners make. They walk an untrained dog that's not vaccinated yet. So
okay. Excellent, Dad. Excellent answer.
Well done.
I'm actually going to bump this question to the top. Someone just posted it, but I wanted to get your response. Anna says, disappointed that you are promoting kibble. Kibble is simply empty calories, promoting disease. I understand this is a training conference and a nutrition conference. Even so, I was certainly shocked. Obviously, you're a veterinarian, so you also have a medical perspective.
Oh, I am a veterinarian and also a nutritionist. And kibble creates disease.
And it's empty calories.
Empty calories. I don't know what kibble you're feeding, but it's not what I feed. My number one kibble to feed would be Ziwi Peak, which nutritionally, when judged by the same standards as human foods, ranks as the number one dog food worldwide in every category. I'm sorry, it's food. No, I don't feed any junk kibbles. You know, I would rather put in the money so I feed less. So if you're feeding something like Ziwi, you look at what you're feeding a day, you think, my dog will starve. No, it's calorie rich, which means what? It's all digested and absorbed from the body. So you get rabbit poops come out. There's nothing left. So you can usually judge the nutritional value of a food by the weight of the poop. And usually food in, poop out is the same for a lot of kibbles. I agree with you there. There's some terrible dog foods on the market. Read the label. But you know what? Also, there's some terrible human foods on the market. As a rule of thumb, if it's inside of the perimeter of a supermarket, it's junk food. Read the label. Yeah. To get real food, you have to walk around the perimeter. I never go up and down the aisles. So yeah, there are junk kibbles, not the kibble that we use.
Emina says, I have a 15-month-old JRT, and after an x-ray where he got really scared, I can't trim his nails anymore or put eye drops in. He bit me last time. What should I do?
So rephrase your question. I have a Jack Russell Terrier and I can't cut his nails without getting bitten. Solve that problem. Stop blaming it on what happened elsewhere. No, this problem, we could have picked it up probably at 8 weeks of age. It's already there, waiting to develop. All of the 13 bite triggers, subliminal bite stimuli, you can usually pick them up in puppy class already, starting to blossom. Until people get bitten, people don't usually pay attention to it. So let's start. Best possible training scenario. Let's pet the dog, but not on his nails. Handle 7 other of the subliminal bite triggers. His ears, 2 treats. Okay, his muzzle, 3 treats for that. His rear end, give him a hug, look in his eyes. Now we're going to handle his his feet, but don't start on his toes. Start on his withers. Withers treat, shoulder blade treat, elbow treat. Then go back towards his withers, then come down, go back, down till you touch the toe. And when you touch the toe, pretend your finger is E.T.'s finger or a magic wand, and you go ding, 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 treat. And we suddenly change to liver or cheese instead of kibble. So the dog goes, wow, now you go back to the shoulder, bit of kibble, then come down, kibble, 2 bits of kibble, 3 bits of kibble, touch the toe, ding, 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 liver and a bit of cheese, you get it? This is just touching. Then we're going to use a wand, but it's nail clippers, but you don't clip with them. So you do it step by step. And when I start clipping, I'm not going to go to a dog and cut a hoary old nail off, like clip, oh, damn, it's bleeding. I'm going to go clip, 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 pretending I'm clipping. Cheese, 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 cheese. Okay. And the idea is within 1 week, you now have clippable nails.
Excellent.
Because soon it won't be you who's trying to cut his nails. It'll be a child playing with your dog that holds his paw to shake hands and gets bitten. We start off with the dog doing one little thing. It generalizes starting at 4 months to 2 to 3 years old. We now have a dog that bites everyone for pretty much everything.
Yeah. All right. I like it, Dad. You're doing it. Heather says, I've got a 2-year-old Australian Labradoodle who sees his own shadow and then attacks whatever is nearest, be a toy or a towel. He's always noticed his own shadow, but recently became aggressive upon seeing it.
Usually the difficulty with these problems is they've been heavily reinforced by the owners. Cats chasing lights and dogs chasing the tail. Then there's shadow and there's stuff, or sounds on TV, and you laugh at it. And that's it. It's now a trained behavior that you've got to counteract. But do it. Whenever you see your dog do this stuff, say, go to your bed, settle down. Go to your bed. So get your Kong, go to your bed, settle down. Boom. It's not a reprimand. It's not a distraction. It's not a, what do they call them? Differential reinforcements of another behavior or of an incompatible behavior. It's a mere instruction. If you feel like chasing your shadow, it will become, oh, got to find my Kong, go to my bed and settle down. That will be the command. Because the dog learns, well, whenever I see my shadow, sun's low in the horizon, my owner tells me, get a Kong, go to your bed, settle down. So use words that solve the problem.
All right.
And don't use no, off, words like that. A much more difficult concept for a dog to learn. They can learn do's, sit, bed, Kong, shush.
All right, we have a client's dog keeps chewing his paws. They've been to the vets and they just said it's anxiety and there isn't much to do about it. Do you have any suggestions? They said the dog is exercised properly and so on, and it does happen when no one's at home.
Well, regardless of the etiology.
He's left with Kongs and toys to play with.
Yeah, I said regardless of etiology, we'll get to that in a second. When the dog starts to chew his paw, get your Kong. This is not an available Kong. This is a Kong that you've trained him to get on cue and take it to his bed and lie down and chew on it. Okay, so basically it's chew on something else. So this would be specifically training the dog, differentially reinforcing, instructing and reinforcing an incompatible behavior. And the key word there is instructing. Okay, so why is it happening? It could be anxiety. It could be allergy. I would go the allergy route first, because if they think it's anxiety or, it's easier. Change the dog's food. Maybe you're feeding an empty, nutritious, empty calorie kibble. And so look for, I'm serious, with a better protein in it. And I would look for a protein like lamb or duck, or turkey or salmon, something very different from the usual dead cow remains swept off an abattoir floor and, put in with a bit of grain or not, So I would say it's probably more likely to be allergy, but, I haven't seen the dog. I can't give veterinary advice over the internet.
All right. Good answer. Angela says, excellent answer.
But as I said, just solve the problem. Instruct the dog.
Get your chew toy.
Yeah.
And
another thing that helps, a quickie, buy some little ice booties for him. So little boot or hot weather booties, ones that breathe, and have him wear those for a few days, as long as they breathe. Just to go cold turkey on it for 3 days and keep him close. And every time you see him do it, Kong bed.
Angela says, I have a year-old border collie who lunges and barks at cars wanting to chase them. Once he sees a car, I am unable to get his attention. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, don't walk this dog off leash around cars because you got a higher probability of ending up with a dead dog. It's a very, very bad habit. And it usually happens the dog chases the cars and the car makes a turn and the front wheels just go over it. I mean, the rear wheels go over it. So just don't do this. So if you're walking your dog off leash, then walk places where there's no cars. But first train your dog up to have a 90% minimum reliable sit response at a distance when distracted. So it's no good that he sits in the kitchen or in the living room or walking by your side when he's not distracted. It's in a dog park. You want the distant dog park sit. Rover, sit, go play. Like Omaha, you'll see on day 5, a little cameo of Omaha taken about a month before he died. And he's sitting 100 yards away. You got to have that kind of control. So just please don't do it. Every person tells me the same story. Oh, he never did it before. Well, you've got a big warning. How many times has he done it now? And one day in the competition, dog versus car, cars win. With the exception of another little video I'll show you day 5 of Hugo, our French bulldog, and the Hummer. He gets into a fight with a Hummer, which Hugo wins. But this was a radio-controlled Hummer that Jamie was operating. No, just don't do it. Train the dog. And you can have a lot of fun with your dog. I'll tell you something about border collies and Belgians and Malinois and stuff, dogs like this, that they're driven. You can sufficiently tire them on leash. Now, you'd have to walk far. What you need to do with them is stuff. Every 50 yards, dance with your dog. Every 25 yards, drop 3 objects and you want the dog to bring back yours. So you have 3 tennis balls, say, in a container, 2 yellow, 1 orange, and you have tongs that you never touch them. So you handle one, right? One's got your scent on it. And you put the 3 down, then he hands you yours, you put it in your pocket, put the others away in the container. So you do a scent retrieve. You do sit down, sit, stand down, stand. You do a long 5-minute sit and watch. Then that mental exercise will tire your dog much more than if you're trying to physically exercise them. And you can't. You know what physical exercise for a young adolescent Labrador or a Belgian is called? It's called training. Yeah, endurance training. You'll just make them now so when they need you to walk 40 miles a day to tire them out, you know? And so, yeah, train your dog on the walks and you have a lot of fun with them, but especially dance with your dog and, on lead, style, freestyle healing, but also really dance and get in there. And everyone who sees you says, wow, that person and dog, they just love each other.
Yeah. All right. Well, believe it or not, this hour has flown by. This has been a lot of fun. Well, it's flown by for me.
This hour has flown by.
Maybe it hasn't for you.
Hour and a quarter.
I've got 2 more questions lined up. I'm sorry. Obviously, we're not going to get to quite everyone's questions, although you did a pretty amazing job, Dad. You really turned them out today. That was impressive. If we didn't answer your question today, we will be doing one more live session where we'll be taking questions on Tuesday on the final day of the summit. And we'll have Ian and Kelly and myself all together to answer questions and maybe get in a good howl to celebrate the conclusion of the summit.
Yeah, howlathon.
So until then, of course, we've got more fantastic presentations on Saturday, today, and Sunday, and Monday. So make sure you check them out. But yeah, yep, we got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday still to come. But first, we got 2 more questions before we go out. Donna says, do you have any tips on how to deal with resource guarding?
Yeah, again, it's like best possible scenario. First, teach it to fetch in your living room. First a tennis ball, then a shoe, then comb, anything we drop in this house. We say, Captain, fetch it, because that's going to be his job. And he runs, gets it. He picked up the cat, not the channel changer, off the counter today. Captain, fetch it. Thank you. Back on the counter. Good. So play Off, take it, thank you. Sitting in a couch with objects. Then you just toss the object. It can be a bean bag, a tennis ball, a toilet paper roll, whatever. And then I would go for Kongs and stuffed Kongs. Then I would go for an old bone that's empty. So like a marrow bone, long bone, marrow bone, but it's empty and ants have eaten it. It doesn't smell of meat at all. Off, take it, thank you. Then you toss it. Thank you. So the dog now, thank you means go and get it and bring it back. Okay. Then we're going to work with the real object. So we start with objects the dog doesn't like or value much, and we build up. Now we're going to work with objects it does like. But I would tie them to a string so that you can have an accomplice that has the string. So if the dog growls, it's gone, and you put a waste paper can over it and sit on it. Okay, so the dog learns, wow, you growl at this hand coming in, and the object just disappears. And then you could wear gloves if you're scared. Basically, if I decide to work with the dog, I'm not going to be scared because I know the bite's not going to sink in my skin much. So I don't mind taking nips and snaps and that kind of stuff, okay? And then off, take it, thank you, with the bone. And we can switch, always have two objects. Off, take it, thank you. Here's another one. Let the dog see you've got another one. And then we alternate. Bum, bum. Your dog now is trained to do that with you. So now every family member has to do it. Every person who's coming to your house has to do it. But then by that time, you can go to the park and really do some good fetch, recalls and turn the dog into a tennis ball sort of, addict almost, or a tug addict. And you've got to build that up to much higher value than the bone. And so what we do there is you play tug, then you get your bone. So playing tug means you get the bone. And so playing tug means you get the couch. Playing tug means you get petted and so on. But it's you be careful if the dog has, started to bite you or growl at you. Take it slowly. I would say a 3-week training program with the family. Always home and family first. Because the easiest way to deal with a dog that's not cool with other people is you put him away when other people come to the house. But I would then start with people who come to the house. And that's another place where you can stop. Now you have a dog that's safe in the house no matter who's there. And then you can build to on walks in case it picks up some cat poo or a stick or something and a child runs up. So this is a slow, progressive, off, take it, thank you, with multiple objects, starting with objects the dog doesn't want to protect.
All right. You ready for your final question today, Dad? Then you can go have a beer.
I think actually for the very first time of answering questions of people, this is the first time I was ready 20 minutes ago to get back to my fence. Yeah, outside.
I did interrupt you. You were mid-fencing. Okay, last question. Barbara says, do you agree that there are instances where dogs need medication for things like anxiety, aggression, etc.? I find a lot of my clients have dogs on Prozac and other meds.
I have never in my life recommended that a dog go to their vet to get a prescription of a mind-altering drug. It just hasn't been necessary. My response to everybody is, I don't care what the etiology is, whether someone was nasty to your dog 3 years ago, or whether it's some organic problem, whether, whatever it is, train the dog. And you know what? Whatever the etiology, you've still got to train the dog. And I'll give you a classic example. This happened on Christmas Day. A lady called me at home. I've been working with her dog, and the dog would bite her. And she didn't mind it biting her, but she wanted the problem solved. And she said, something must be wrong with the dog. Was it abuse? I said, no, just train the dog not to bite you. Classically condition it so it loves you is the best way to go. That would be a totally positive way. You hand feed it its whole meal throughout the day. You are the good guy in the house, so you don't like to bite the people you love. You don't like to bite the hand that feeds you. Okay. Anyway, Christmas Day, said Dr. Dunbar, I just wanted you to know dog's dead. I said, oh no, I'm so sorry. And said, yeah, it had a brain tumor. So I knew this before, being diagnosed with a brain tumor. I said, well, if you're not going to treat the brain tumor, and you're not going to euthanize the dog, which is really the only two options, you just live with it. So you've got to resolve this problem. No, she got into this thing. The brain tumor was causing the problem. Never trained the dog ever at all. And so when we think of the frequency of this, for those of you that bet or play poker, know what's the likely of a dog biting people? Let's just say 1 out of 10. It's actually much greater than that. It's probably 1 out of 5 that a dog in its lifetime bites a family member. What's the likelihood a dog has a brain tumor? Let's say 1 out of 100. Okay, so if it bites people, is it likely that this is caused by a brain tumor? No, only 1 chance out of 100. But what if the dog had a brain tumor, which was a presenting find? What's the likelihood it bites people? 1 out of 5. You see, and so people don't understand the logic of it, but it stops them training the dog. So I personally have never recommended it. And let's say we do go to drugs, because a very good friend of mine, Nick Dodman, was the person who started the whole field of behavioral pharmacology with small animals, cats and dogs. And he obviously opts for drug treatment in a lot of cases. He's also very trainer savvy. And so there's a big question there. Well, I wonder what resolved it, Nick. Do you think it was the drugs you prescribed or the training that you did? I would say it's most likely the training that you did. What we do know is a lot of these drugs, like Prozac, and I remember the day it was advertised in the New York Times for animals, and I predicted this day in a seminar on the Saturday. And then in the New York Times, and on the Sunday, a full-page ad, Prozac for pets. And why did I predict it? Because the patent had just run out. So now we're going to have lots of all other drugs, right?
So do you ever suggest that dog owners go off medication? You know, if they come to you with a dog that has
No.
behavior.
Oh, no. And that would be, sorry, not my client. I mean, the veterinary profession, you don't mess with another veterinarian's dog. And if their veterinarian has said one thing, what I say is, I don't say, oh, I wouldn't do that, I recommend do this. I sometimes say, all I can answer is, if that were my dog, I would take it off medication immediately. But I wouldn't if it had been put on something like Prozac. I'd bring it off. So pros and cons. Does it work? I really don't think so much. That's my honest opinion from seeing many, many dogs on various sorts of drugs. I don't think it has a very big effect. If, let's say, it does work, well, it's very expensive and it takes 4 to 6 weeks to work. Every veterinarian will tell you, well, I'm prescribing this drug and you'll probably have to wait 4 to 6 weeks to see an effect. If it's anxiety, I want to see an effect, a big change within a week. If it's not anxiety, I want the problem. I mean, the dog, there's no house training drug in this world. My dog's weeing on the carpet. Is there a drug to stop that? No. Teach him to pee on cue in the right spot, you know? And so the only sort of thing that we would think of really is anxiety. Is it going to stop aggression? No. You know, because the sort of aggression that goes with anxiety is mild, like snapping, backing up, and that sort of stuff. You're not getting hard level 3 or level 4, level 5 type damage where you need sutures. Okay. Does it resolve that? No. And with the old drug treatments, when they used to use, say, phenobarb, tranquilizers, you've made it worse, because what does a barbiturate do? It inhibits the inhibitory areas in the cortex. Well, how is biting controlled or held at bay? By bite inhibition. So now you're inhibiting bite inhibition. And every vet tech knows that when you watch a dog come out of barbiturate anesthesia, That's when you get, as soon as you touch him, because there's no bite inhibition. You've got to leave him and let him wake up and respond to your voice for a while. So I don't think it works. I've never had to prescribe them myself. If it does work, it's very expensive and it takes a long time. Just train the dog. And if it's anxiety, that's crippling. So do it quickly. Being dog reactive, it's not a joke. The owner's not a leper, now not welcome in a dog park. The owner's upset and his dog is crucified by anxiety. Help the dog out, resolve it quickly, and stop me with saying, oh, this person shouldn't do that because that's nasty. Well, regardless if it's nasty or not, did his method resolve the problem? Did your method resolve the problem? Because I don't see much proof now in training that we're meeting criterion quickly. So as you know, I'm all for quick and easy training, proven. We have proof of training and we have proof of the speed of training. Why? For me. So I know that my training techniques work or they were rubbish. So I moved to plan B or plan C or plan D. But also for the dog, if it's anxiety. I want it resolved quickly.
All right, Dad. That was
sorry, I got a bit involved with that one. This is obviously a big issue with me.
Yeah.
Bring back the voice in dog training. Yeah. Jamie, as always, been good to see you.
Yeah.
Seems we meet more on Zoom these days, but what am I doing this Sunday?
Well, we're hitting the slopes.
Well, I'm driving up north on Sunday. We've got Chinese New Year before that. Yeah. Then we're hitting the slopes. Yeah.
We've got some fun ahead. So good. Dad, I'd like to thank you for your sharing your wonderful knowledge and your experience and your expertise. And I want to thank everyone watching for joining us.
Me too. A lot of fun. Thank you for being here, everybody. There's nothing worse than talking to a blank screen.
Well, it'd be me. I'd be here.
Well, yeah, I know. And we talk together like this a lot when we're troubleshooting stuff, but or when we play virtual golf.
Yeah.
But it's more fun when you have an audience, and especially if the audience is remotely appreciative. And so that's lovely. Thank you all.
I hope everyone remembers tomorrow we've got some amazing presentations. We got Moira with separation anxiety, Michael Shikashio, dog people aggression, Joe Rosie Heffenden, what to do with your barking dog, and a little guy named Dr. Ian Dunbar with dog reactivity. So
and the best thing about that is unedited dog reactive treatment video. It's unedited apart from what the producers did because of the sound, which was crazy. There's construction going on in the warehouse where we're holding the training class. I mean, it was just the worst possible training scenario ever. But you know what? Walter came round, and then you'll see footage of him doing a sleepover at our place and then going to a dog park for the first time with all of his canine colleagues from class that ousted him from class.
Welcomed back into the fold.
Great.
All right, Dad. This is a lot of fun.
Jamie, as always, everybody out there, bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Go play with your dog. Go train them.